Hey, I've been working on a procedural tool for modeling. So you can use it to create these ornaments from textures. For example, check this out. You can change the texture and it cuts out a different one. You can also change the where the cut happens. So you can see I'm essentially starting off with this plane, and this control here, if you turn off the snap, you can use it to determine where the plane cut happens. And there's also some other controls, like for example, what's the magnitude of the displacement, so you can make like super huge, and some other details like tessellation. So for example, if I increase the tessellation of the base mesh, we get a higher resolution object. And of course this this would probably be better if I use the high resolution texture to begin with. But to give you an example, I'm not sure if I have any high resolution textures here, but we could try a different one. You can see I have some noise here. That's pretty nice. All right, so if you want to go nuts and like maybe create nanite meshes with this thing, you could totally do that. You could totally do that. And you can, there's other parameters you can change, but I love how cool it is. You could just pick like some weird texture, and then it just cuts it off. That's great. It's also really slow because of the tessellation. It's also, yeah, I don't know if my video is bugging out, but like this tessellation really slows it down. But I quite like the results. See, it's just great. If you want to see the code, it's actually not too big. This here is the whole script. So you create this dynamic, what was it called? Let's see. Generated dynamic mesh actor. Yeah, so you do like blueprint, search for generate dynamic mesh actor, and this is from a plugin. So you need to enable the geometry script plugin. Where is it? Yeah, this one. It's not enabled by default. And when you make this, you get this new event on rebuild generated mesh. And the engine will call this for you whenever you make some changes. And then you could do things like, for example, append rectangle. Let me show you what happens when you only do that. Right? It's just a plane. So that is the rectangle. And then when you apply tessellation, you essentially make that higher resolution. So there's not much has changed though, because it's just flat. And then we apply displacement from this texture map using all these variables that we set, that our user sets. And let me actually recompile this. And this is the result we get after that. And all that's left to do is to cut the bottom of this thing, which we do using a mesh plane cut. So it's kind of like modeling in Blender, right? But instead of doing these steps manually, like let's say in the modeling mode, of course you can do those manually, but if you want to repeat certain steps over and over, make many of these things, you use them in your game, this is quite a nice method. And there's, you can then take this mesh and like bake it to a static mesh, so you wouldn't have to do all this tessellation at runtime. I think that's quite cool, especially if you can make it interactive with the world. If you want to use something in the world to make these, like maybe bend it around something existing. I don't know. Well, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this.